progress.
All right, I'd like to call over the October 15th, 2025 meeting of the Lower Stafford Township Board of Supervisors and ask everyone to join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Chairman Bergman, before the meeting begins, I would like to introduce our newest junior supervisor to the front table. Her name is Nadia Cho.
Nadia, good morning and welcome. Good morning. Good to see you. All right, so that also brings us to our public comment period. Is there anyone wishing to be recognized? Seeing and hearing no one, we'll move on. I'll take a motion to approve the work session minutes from the September 17, 2025 meeting, and also the September 30, 2025 meeting.
I'll make that motion subject to any feedback from any members of the board.
Second. Moved in second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Public Works Director, Mr. Jones.
Good morning, thank you. Just an update on some projects. The Burgess Mill Road Bridge project, the deck is poured. I think they're still looking at a Thanksgiving opening. I met with the neighboring property regarding the trail and the scenic overlook, and they expressed their concerns. I kind of told them what the township's position was and said that we would look into seeing if there were any viable alternatives. We've since met at the staff level with Stephanie, and unfortunately, we don't think there's anything that's a realistic alternative. Given the process that had to happen with the acquisition of the right of way by the county, and all the legislation that had to be passed in order for us to do that, and the DCNR approval and all those kind of factors kind of led us to the point where it's like we're way too far into this to try to make a right turn. So I have yet to talk to the property owners, but that's my plan for this week, just to let them know what's happening. Nobody's really sure how much that trail and overlook is going to get used. If it becomes a real persistent issue, then maybe we look to do some screening or something to accommodate them. But at this point, I don't.
It's going to be the same hours as the park, right? The use.
Yeah, dawn to dusk.
Yes.
And just as background, and don't always hear at the time, but when the township acquired that park property, it was done using federal funds, which requires that any changes have to go, and it has to be a piece of legislation that allows us to make those changes, and giving the small tiny piece of right of way to the county to fix the bridge actually took an act of the state legislature. So we kind of try to backtrack and change, and trail was part of that legislation, so it was all noted in there. So it would really be effort to get a change.
Mr. Can't pass the budget, I'm not sure it's
So I did receive a response to my request for improvements on the approaches. Basically, the answer was no. It's outside of the limits and the scope of the project. I was told that, and this was from the Montgomery County Roads and Bridges Administrator, that it was a bridge project. It's not a road improvement project. So I responded with a not so kind, "You got to be kidding me." You're operating in a vacuum, but we'll see where that goes. Probably nowhere. Probably will go unanswered. But at this point, we're looking to try to do something with those the outcroppings there. I don't think it's a monumental effort to try and improve that even the slightest bit. I think all we need is a couple of feet of just a little bit of cushion there on the shoulder. So that's what we're going to look to do. Update on the new public works facility project. With the developments at the 460 Stover Road property, we asked our design team to start looking at concepts for that property. wasn't 100% thrilled with, the original concept that came by the engineer, so I solicited Mike's help, with trying to just, put some ideas together and just think through the process and what's going to work. So, I sent these concepts to you and just looking for your feedback. Mike, if you want to go through, this is concept A, what's up on the screen. Our goal was to try to keep as much green space along Stover Road as possible, just,
Just interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
The benefit in the future for Mike, do you have an overall aerial that kind of guide us into what these concepts are, of course? Kind of start.
sure.
So it's just to get everyone oriented, this is Main Street here, this is the Meadowbrook Plaza with Penny's. This is Stover Road down here, and the Allabout Farm property is this whole area here. And the proposed public works facility in concept form is back behind the Henry Shopping Center.
We think that's the ideal location, at least on this property for a new public works facility. Mike, Joe and I were looking at, like street views from Main Street, looking at concerned about the view shed from Main Street. That's one of the things we talked about preserving with the acquisition of this property. And there, from our perspective and from what we can see at this point, there's going to be minimal impact of the view from Main Street and even from Quarry Road, because there's a tree line divide where the swale bisects the property. So that helps. The Hennings Shopping Center, the Meadowbrook Plaza, whatever it's called, the trees behind the shopping center provide additional buffer. So that's why, tucked away in that corner, we think makes the most sense. We do have some challenges with grading. There's always challenges with grading. So that's why we were looking at the sites and again, trying to not have a facility that's right up against on Stover Road, so that, the visual impact as people that are driving along Stover Road wouldn't be something that just kind of, smacks you in the face. So the goal was to try to tuck it as far, north as we could along the property line. And still be aware and cognizant of our operations and the different components of what we're looking to do. This is concept A, which kind of pushes everything as far back as we can. The challenge with this is that the grades kind of go from upper right to lower left. So we're not working with the grades as much as we think we could. And it poses some challenges from a construction standpoint and just trying to get a lot of cut and fill, and there could be rock in the area. You just don't know. The other thing we're trying to, Mike and I talked about trying to achieve with this concept is to kind of hide the ugly parts of public works, all the stone storage, the pipe, the inlets, all those things that, nobody wants to see. And with a stone storage lot along the side there, and also the gas pumps and the leaf dumpsters and all those things, just in this concept, it's more visible than I think that we would like. Mike, you want to go to concept B, please? This is the concept that is my preference, and I think it's kind of a consensus at the staff level, and I've even run it past Tony Ganguzzo at Boyle Construction, and he agrees. I think there are some things that we could tweak with this, but overall, we like the concept. And what we're envisioning with this concept is basically a 3-tiered site. So as you come in where the gas pumps, fueling island is and the leaf drop off is, that would be one tier. The long accessory building that abuts that area, the rear wall of that building could be used as a retaining wall to then naturally transition down to the next level where Public Works should be. The main building and then the salt building, and the storage lot could all be on, the same kind of level. And then you'd have a third tier down to where the stormwater management and the open green space, and that could be, if this township decides to go solar, it could be a solar field if we do something like that, but it gives us some options. It also gives us room for expansion in 50 years.
Farming and landscaping also.
Absolutely.
About how many acres spot be?
That's about 7 acres, I believe, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, I think so.
And with that plan, with that concept B, it also gives us, it's difficult to envision without dimensions on these kinds of concept plans, but it gives us an opportunity to push things, diagonally down to, about 8 acres.
No, this road to Main Street, that's essentially already there, correct?
There is an access drive already there, yes.
Yeah, I think the only thing, I do like the second one, I get the grading side of it too. If we move this along, I would look at tweaking it, how many guests do you actually ever have at Public Works?
Minimal.
Because I would avoid the driveway in front of the barn, maybe move the barn down, and have the barn almost with stormwater basin, so, and design it so it looks like a barn, so it keeps that look along the front of it there. And I'd also just try to maybe squeeze it to the left on this plan to, so we're not eating up 8 acres, maybe we're down to 5 or 6 acres. And, obviously we might need some of that green space in the bottom left corner there when we're doing it, but just to push it that way, so we're minimizing its impact, but otherwise, I think it makes sense, the general layout.
Or you can tuck it behind, Penny's and the hospital.
Yeah, I agree, I like the one that you looked at, so if you're more.
Yeah,
the layout like this.
I think it does have a lot of advantages. It gives us a lot of flexibility with, the layout and moving if there, for whatever reason, we need to spread things out a little bit just from a functionality standpoint and the operations, we can.
I also think the driveway on the right will give us an option, that can be a gateway to the, whatever we do on the right-hand side.
Right.
Where the barn is, and for the recreational side of the use of the property.
Yeah, that's another thing with recreational planning, obviously, we don't know what we'll do in the future, we're gonna keep it recreational clear for everybody watching, but is there a chance or opportunity for any kind of pass through here, perhaps? Is that something we wanna think of now, or is it something we wanna kind of see where we're going?
Well, I think we want trail across the front, because then there's just that one parcel, and then we're into township property again, that we can run a trail down and connect to the trail that's over, that brings you to the Henny Shopping Center and the neighborhood across the way. Sewer line from very long, that we run along.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, regarding the trail, I know there's a crosswalk on Stover that goes up to.
Yeah, that would take you right down there, around there,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I'm thinking, it's something we could have mentioned there as well, so. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Full steam ahead.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Just an update on some other projects, the Main Street sidewalk project, Marino is still coordinating with, the utilities. Apparently, there's a second Pico service line that they found and,
Hopefully they haven't TNT.
yeah, exactly. So they're still, this is all in front of the dentist office, we have a Rector office. But they still anticipate having all this work. Substantial completion by the end of this year, and then just with, grading should be done, but seeding and stabilization.
The section that already looks really nice. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, the section that's complete looks great.
It does look nice, yeah.
Hopefully, there's never a timeline facilities, of course.
Yeah. They're also dealing with a slight grading issue in the pavement in front of the Dracus property. Just concerned about there's a little bit of a high point in the pavement that they're afraid there's gonna create a ponding issue. Not a severe ponding issue, but still a ponding issue that we wanna try to avoid, so. They've done some survey work and got some elevations and, trying to work all that through at this point. Jacob Rife Stream Bank project, this is phase 2. We started work on the project last week. Installed the ENS controls, construction entrance for haul materials. So we're doing this, I think I mentioned last time, is a kind of a 2-phased project. There are riffle pools between the 2 meadows that we're going to be installing, so we're gonna go after that now and try to get those constructed. And then in the spring, we'll work on the actual work that's adjacent to the stream because of the impact and the work concern about getting any disturbed areas stabilized in a timely fashion. PennDOT Winter Services Agreement. I have received no response from PennDOT regarding my request for them to consider adjusting the snow lane miles on Main Street and Wambold Road. I also spoke to Franconia about Wambold or the 309 connector. And they asked the same question of PennDOT and got no response either.
They signed theirs.
Yes, they did, last year, I think they went, their agreement was up.
Cycle.
I'm sorry,
They're in recycle.
yes,
5 years.
5 years,
Okay.
yeah, they weren't thrilled about it either, but they ended up, signing. So, and I talked to Hatfield as well, and they do not do winter maintenance for PennDOT. So, just, you know,
Is
we're kind of in limbo.
doing the limited access section of the connector that just opened up from Allentown up to Calhoun?
I don't know if they're doing any of it, any of the new road.
If they do the section from Allen, like
They do from
Allentown to
schoolhouse to
Allentown.
to
right?
Allentown. Yes, that is part of their agreement. But anything additional is not spelled out in the agreement, and it's kind of no man's land at this point. And they haven't gotten a direction from PennDOT as to whether or not PennDOT will be maintaining it. Or,
We'll give it a go.
yeah, unfortunately, it's gonna be one of those, okay, it's gonna snow, who's doing this?
I mean, that's what mine is. That's pretty here, hear that.
So, yeah, and I reached out again, just saying, hey, you know, what's going on? Need to provide an update and haven't gotten a response.
We're waiting, they were done until, another couple weeks, probably next meeting, and then that, and then good.
I think from a practical standpoint, we're gonna end up doing it whether we have an agreement in place or not. I mean, that's just my feeling unless the board feels differently. But yeah, I think it's just and maybe that's PennDOT's position as well, is that will.
It's a 5-year thing, you guys signed, or?
It's 5 years with 5 one-year extensions on top of that. So they're hoping that these are gonna be 10-year agreements. So that they don't have to go through this exercise every 3 years like they've been doing in the past. That's their goal. But it puts the onus on the township municipalities to opt out. That's the challenge, is that, you know, but that's why they have reminders on your calendar, right? You know, put it in there to trigger the action, or at least the consideration as to whether or not you want to re-up. But I believe they're automatic renewals unless you specifically opt out. But yeah, it's a long-term agreement at, in my opinion, a minimal increase, percentage increase per year.
It's already starting.
I mean, they did adjust, there was about a 20% adjustment on the rates for the snow lane miles. From 2022, I guess it was, the last agreement we had, but it's a 2% annual increase. And again, I mentioned, we just received our severe winter adjustment check of over $41,000 for last year. So there is that component of it that I think a lot of municipalities kind of factor into the equation when they're deciding if the you know, the increases are adequate.
The feeling we outside is kind of,
Correct.
Yeah.
no.
And do we say that person not getting any reimbursement at all?
So why would it be something? Yeah. Or we have two choices, we either say, and no, we're no longer doing this. And you're gonna plow your own roads. And then we get plowed last. So, I didn't know, that's what you try to put the pressure on them in any other way that's necessary.
Yeah, I'd at least like to get a response from
I
them
would.
saying, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, we've considered it and
Right.
Yeah.
maybe some small tweaks or whatever in the snow lane miles.
Oh, yeah, because they haven't reflected the change since they actually upgraded the roadway.
Right.
But even since when I first got on, you explained, I remember the last time, how you thought it was a little too long, the prices stacked them up, don't reflect that on there, and, you know, here we go again, that's the turn, so 5 years, what happened in 3 years, if prices skyrocket, we're contracted for another 2 years, we're still gonna get the whole thing. I think what's unfortunate is that other townships who kind of sound like they kind of agree on the same idea, we're just quick to sign, and that puts more pressure on us, but it's unfortunate, I do.
Is there a deadline for signing this?
Like snow.
I think it was November 1, I believe, is when the agreement was supposed to go in effect.
I guess that'd be our next. And the other question I would ask is, if you're not getting any results, would it be worth Joe doing a call into Donna's office and asking her office to just request a response to the what we've asked for? I mean, you're right, we're supposed to be partners in this, right? At least respond to the request.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that the letters are, you know, always,
If they sign, if we don't respond, that's why I don't wanna necessarily say, no, okay, let's hear a response, have some conversation, you're right, there we are.
the letters and the emails are always tailored towards, you know, thank you for being a partner in this effort and that kind of stuff, and it's just, then you get stonewalled with, you know, no responses, or
One directional partnerships.
it's a dictator, you know, they're dictating terms. You know, there's no negotiation in it at all, so.
Hypothetically, if we did do it on our own, or did not contract with Holly, and obviously we've been doing our roads, so we have great other townships that show, maybe do it that way, where they're not getting plowed anyway, what's their reputation?
I've had experience in municipalities that did not have a weather service agreement, had state roads running through them. And there were times where it was days later.
Yeah, okay, that's what we need.
I mean, it will really depend on the storm. You have kind of a massive storm, you're gonna be waiting a long time.
It depends on the road, it's something, some of the.
Between 113 and maybe Main Street are probably a little higher on the west, but you look at places like Kinsey and those roads, I mean, you know, those are small roads, it's a long, long time.
Any of the back roads that our buses utilize.
Correct.
Right.
And, you know, I plow Main Street, and I mean, I back and forth, you can't tell you how many times it's. Yeah, it's mind numbing how many times I plow Main Street, you know, and just, you're not gonna get that level of service from Pettit, they just don't have the resources to commit to that. I mean, we look at, and even with the, you know, just the call outs, if there's an issue, you know, going up the hill heading towards Burnfield, you know, it's just, there's, you know, you get the slightest little hiccup and it turns into a real issue. We're here, we're gonna respond. That's the other thing with the response time. If it's PennDOT forces, it all depends where their local maintenance yard is. Some municipalities have them in their backyard, where it's a lot easier for them to respond and in a timely fashion, where if you're more remote, it doesn't happen so quickly.
Not to
So,
mention.
and PennDOT doesn't have the resources. In one of my emails, I mentioned to Steve Lance that, you know, he mentioned that, you know, PennDOT maintenance would respond to any after storm issues, icing concerns or whatever. And I said, with all due respect, I said, I couldn't get you guys to fill potholes on Main Street this summer. And that's just the reality of it. That's the PennDOT, that's the reality of PennDOT anymore. Is that they don't have staffing to accommodate, you know, to deal with all the maintenance issues that they have. So. Wait for a response and then we'll go from there.
See if we can get pressure on you get a response.
Okay. Just Oak Drive, right turn lane, that extension and sidewalk, I know we've been talking about grants for that sidewalk project, and the weak link in the whole process has been acquiring right of way or even an easement from the property owner at the corner, I guess it'd be northeast corner of Moyer Road and Oak Drive. I've had conversations with him, and that was basically because I knocked on the door, and, you know, to talk to him. He was reluctant at one point, and then we went radio silence and didn't get any response from him for the longest time. I ended up stumbled upon him while he was mowing his grass and stopped and talked to him, and he was even less interested at that point for whatever reason to discuss the acquisition of the right. So that's kind of there's the missing link of sidewalk there from Main Street to Moyer Road. And this property is one of the weak point in any of our applications for grant funding is that we don't have the right to install the sidewalk to make that that complete connection. So we met at staff and with Andy and with Stephanie about how do we move this forward. And the consensus was just to have Andy's office craft a letter to the property owner, explaining the situation, explaining our options, and seeing if we could try and move this forward, at least reopen the dialogue and the conversation so that we can try and get this project moving forward. So that's where we are with that. Grace, you have update on some grants?
Yep, so we are going to be looking to apply to the Pico Green Region grant this year. I think what we're looking to do is installing a aerator at Briarwood Park, likely a fountain aerator, for an aesthetic part of the project, I guess. Since it's a little bit difficult to get electric down to that park, we're gonna look to find something solar powered. The grant program is a $10,000 ceiling with a 50-50 match. So Doug and I are still working on collecting a quote or some estimates, but we're thinking it's gonna be in the $20,000 range for the entire project. So again, $10,000 for the township. I talked to Kyle Rose, who is the director at Pico for this program, and he said it looks like a great project for us. And we only need a draft resolution at this point, so it will be on the agenda at the next board meeting. Because it is due, they said, at the end of the month. So Doug and I are working through that, and I will get more information to you when we have it.
Yeah, okay, just some update on department activities. We're working on the installation of a new vehicle lift for the garage as part of our budget for this year. That will reduce our reliance on the pit for maintenance and also give us the availability of doing more, and safer maintenance on the equipment. Our mechanic, Steve Delicat, recently made some significant repairs to our old loader. There was a transfer case issue, and also the old the 2002 Volvo dump truck, a transmission issue. So Steve has been a tremendous asset for us, and just saved the township a lot of money just by his efforts and his knowledge and his willingness to just dive in and tackle whatever we throw at him. So he's been a blessing, honestly. Working on the budget for next year and with our vehicle and equipment needs. And we've talked about things internally. Right now, we have 2 tandem axle trucks and we have 4 39,000 pound single axle dump trucks. So they're the large single axle dump trucks. Moving forward, we see us, thank you to the board, and with your generosity, we've been able to build the department from a staffing perspective. So we have people available, and we have more people than we have trucks, especially from a salting standpoint. So with the new wing plows, it kind of changes that dynamic of the main roads. We don't need as many vehicles there, but what we need is just salting vehicles for this. So as we move forward, we're looking at the possibility of probably going to a fleet of 3 and 3 tandem axle trucks, and then 3 large single axle dump trucks. Problem with the single axle dump trucks is that during the summer months, we don't get a whole lot of use. The tandem axles have a lot more utility for us for projects and moving material and that kind of stuff. So we're, with the summer help that we have, having non-CDL vehicles that employees can work out of easily is much more important than having, larger capacity trucks. So that's kind of the direction that we're looking to go in. Some other things that we've been working on, we helped with the cleanup and the prep for the fire company open house and the market. Continuing with all our tree work, did some patching on Manor Road. And we're beginning our sign replacement program for the roads that were resurfaced this year. That's all that I have. Be happy to answer any questions.
I just want to say thanks for cleaning up and preparation before the firehouse event. I thought it went off very nicely and place looked great, so thank you for your efforts on that.
You're welcome.
And some of the fire police told me that Public Works, they said they love the trucks there. Because when people say, well, I'll just go that way, they said, no, you cannot, there's your truck right back. So, they said,
Yeah.
I'm
Brewery was challenged that day.
Just that day.
So just a real quick question about streets.
Yes,
Did it get done this spring, summer?
it did not. I've been struggling to try to get, we have a part of our agreement with the quarry is that they're obligated to provide us with street sweeping services. I think it's 160 hours worth of time. So that's something that's been on my list of things to try to get accomplished. So we're looking at trying to implement that for next year.
I wasn't sure what the agreement was, because I knew the whole situation, so. Yeah, I just noticed that it seemed like there's a lot out there, so. That, at least on the record for
Right.
spring.
Right.
At this point, it seems kind of silly. Very good. Anything else, Mr. Jones? Moving on. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You've already mentioned the market and the open house. That was a fairly major event, very well attended, and no negative incidents. So I'd be very surprised if that didn't become an annual event. But I'll wait for. Well, Corey will wait for. Really good. So, but it went very well, and as mentioned, thanks to Doug getting the big trucks out there, and Johnny did a fair. I have heard once or twice a fair amount of jockeying of the trucks, but we kind of anticipated that, and when that gets debriefed or the early planning for the next one. To see if we can minimize that, because a lot of the vendors didn't like the idea of walking all the way to their table. So maybe the Harleysville shuttle could swing by. Remember that was a thing, or was that before your time?
Right before my time, it's not that.
You missed nothing.
Hiring process did initiate after our last meeting. Early days, so the applications are maybe a handful.
Yes.
Some of which are interview worthy. No real, there is a deadline, but there's not. We'll move that deadline. The position will be open until it's filled.
Just for a reminder, how many are we looking to hire?
Somewhere between 1 and 3.
That's good for people to know if they review the minutes and whatnot too. That's why it's sort of staying open and hoping we've got mobile planning we're doing just to make sure that we're fully staffed and taking advantage of every recruitment opportunity we can.
And that will be driven by the quality of the final list. And we won't be bashful about starting over. That's a bit of a process. And we have been advised there will be another No Kings protest event this Saturday, once again at Hennings, to their chagrin. Last time we checked, there were 402 people registered to attend. So we did have one there, several there, and also 11363. Hennings is just more conducive because of the sidewalk. And they are trying to keep people from parking at Hennings because it does fill up their lot.
Yeah, but it was there'd be
with non.
obviously, the people who are going to protest, they need to be respectful of private property and the business interests, people who they're interfering with.
That is part of their mission. We have the same rep come in and meet with us every time to put, they said, you know, there's a lot of people that don't register, they just show up. And because once somebody registered, then they get additional information, very specific, but we're trying to get some of that front loaded to the flyer so people know that they're not to abuse the parking privilege there. But last time it was, you know, again, 200-300.
Yes.
So this one could be larger, weather dependent, obviously, and that's from 3 to 6.
Very good.
And that's all we had,
Any questions? For the chief?
unless you wanted to discuss looking up my timetable.
That's,
Executive session,
Maybe these guys come.
yeah. I hope.
Moving right along, Mr. Duty, Building and Zone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for the month of September, we had 65 permits that were issued. We do have a zoning hearing board, as you guys know, for November 13th. With 2 items on the agenda. We have the township subdivision, in which the township is asking for a variance for the distance from an accessory building, a proposed lot line. And then we also have 34 Morris Road, which is a 2-unit apartment building just off of Store Road, the corner Store Road and the vacated Morris Road. And they have an existing 2-unit apartment building they want to expand and add a basement and other items. And that is allowable by special exception by zoning hearing board, but they also want to go above the 25% allowable zoning ordinance. So they have to ask for a variance for that. So that'll be the other item on that agenda. We have a sketch plan for 731 Old Skipback Pike. It's a proposed 3-lot subdivision right there at the, close to the intersection of Main Street and Old Skipback Pike. And we will continue discussion with minor land development. Although we might not add that to the agenda because I think the planning commission already decided what their recommendation was. We're looking at it at staff level to make sure, you know, everything is appropriate and plausible. We're also looking at the stormwater management ordinance. So Michelle Fountain's going to be presenting that in more detail. They've been working, CKS has been working pretty hard and diligent on new stormwater management regulations to bring us up to speed. Also, Skipback Township has asked us to take a look at their comprehensive plan to see if there are any comments from Lower Southford with regard to their proposed comprehensive plan update. And just an FYI, after this October 22nd meeting, the next planning commission meeting is going to be the joint meeting. So no November meeting. The meeting will be a joint November-December meeting on December the 10th. And looking ahead to your November business meeting would be 531 Main Street, Clemens Mill. You discussed the waivers at your last meeting, and this would only be for preliminary plan approval consideration. And just as an update on what we're seeing out as far as development out in the township, we are seeing Popeyes and Burger King being constructed finally. And moving forward with 196 Main Street, kind of corner from that intersection. The retail building is going up, it's vertical now. Of course, the bank, everyone's seen the bank has been up for a while. Also, they just submitted, the property owner just submitted application for a couple of the apartment buildings in the back. So that's moving forward. And a development, the industrial development on 130 Christopher Lane, they started development as well. So a lot of
What is going on Longbow Road, just past the turnpike from Stewart?
I saw thousands of feet of,
That's Kel mentions, they're replacing that intersection,
oh, okay.
they're going up across Swan and back up towards the.
Back toward the turnpike, but.
Back up, they're going up towards the plant in,
Storm.
it was down to the cemetery, no?
I saw thousands of feet of. You got HDW pipe there. Hey, it stacks.
Oh, I think there's, I think we're kind of the water one. The water down the storm, I don't know my storm, but I know sanitary water is supposed to be going.
Oh, now, I was just wondering what they were doing, I saw it going on, and I didn't really happen. Pretty major project, what they were doing.
I thought that was all sanitary going up there.
Now, I saw, I just got a storm, yeah.
I don't know if you're going to storm over there.
Not my backyard.
I don't worry about that project.
That's why I said, it just showed up, and I was like, okay,
And you can see it on the other side, on the Telmex side of Longboat, they're going to Long Creek.
yeah, and then from the turnpike.
At Main Street?
No, long,
Detweiler.
and Detweiler, right? Right across, if you kept going straight from Detweiler, it's all the way towards the turnpike.
Like that, like pump station down. So, yeah.
Oh, right.
I just want.
Oh, right, the pipe is actually on Lower Southford.
Yeah, that runs, there's line run all the way down to the Ricktown pump station, and they hit Lower Southford for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, I didn't hear of any construction going on there, all of a sudden, they put shit on.
So, good question.
Anything else, Mr. Bean, any other questions? Very good, moving right along, Mr. Chakowski, Township Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item of the manager's report is 460 Silver Road update, Alabama property. The phase one environmental has been ordered and that's going to be completed in the near future. Staff met with representatives of National Land Trust on Monday. And before you is a proposal and a rate sheet from the National Land Trust. The proposal is for assistance with the referendum planning and public outreach. They're going to work, they work on, I think at least four public meetings, reviewing, making sure that the referendum is done properly, appropriately, and timely. Work with any township staff or committee persons on the project, on working on getting the referendum out there in front of the public, as well as looking at other possible conservation and preservation opportunities in the township. So the proposal has a total cost of $15,500. I think if Grace and Holly and I were in consensus that this is probably a very good way for the township to go as this process in particular is pretty new to all of us, especially looking at the referendum for the income tax. And they have done this on assisted multiple municipalities with this. They were bringing quote unquote experts to these public meetings to talk about open space, the importance of open space, the residents, and why we're going down the road for to do this. So that's for you. If you are okay with that, I can execute it on behalf of the township. Or you can make a motion.
We're gonna make a motion to give you that authorization, I think.
My only question that I did have prior to this was more on the cost of budgeting breakdown. I do appreciate like having this one.
Yeah, I'm good with that out. And this one, I'm good with the first one, was the referendum planning on solar one.
Right.
That's straightforward, and we can put that in budget, and make sure that's there, and then we can talk about it. So I'll make a motion to authorize the township manager to execute the referendum planning, consulting, quotation services for National Land Trust.
I'll second. Move in second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Appreciate the feedback from that little stuff to do.
The second one was the only one, Joe, I had. It looks like there's a number of services that we've already completed.
Correct.
within this, and
So this is more of an à la carte.
yeah, and the only reason I question it is the way they phrase the final page is on behalf of owners that you're authorized natural land trust to complete the task outlined above.
Right.
So by signing this, are they taking that à la carte and start with the buffet without, some direction?
That's completely staying in budget too.
Yes, but that's where I just think that if we just clarify that this is on an as needed basis, that we have a
Correct.
relationship.
And frankly, I think most of our discussions were with grant application process, grant sourcing, that type of thing. They know where the money's buried, so to speak, instead of the bodies, but, it would certainly save us time, effort, and again, they do this on, I mean, that's their job,
So I
so.
would think the settlement services side of it would be a mixture of maybe they can help, but
Right.
you're handling some of it, the solicitor's office has obviously done a number of these things.
Correct.
So, okay,
So I mean, I'll talk to them about that.
just clarify that.
Clarify
language.
that language.
Obviously, this is just to create a relationship that allows you to exercise these services, and not. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that was the way it really presented to us. We didn't, unfortunately, this didn't come until last evening.
Correct.
So I didn't have a chance.
All the reading up to that sounded like that, but.
So if the board's okay with that,
I'll take a motion.
Clarify that.
To authorize the Conservation Services proposal dated October 14th, 2025, with the caveat that the township manager will clarify that this is on an as needed basis and only assignments will be authorized on a bid by bid basis.
I'll second. Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
I think in general, I just think I kind of give an overview of the conversation. They were very excited. I think it's something that they've been around this area long enough and they understand the importance of preserving that property. So, I think they're very excited to work with us. Probably one of the largest ones they've been doing this area for a long time. Good. Next item is the 2026 budget. They sent it out last night, the first drafts of the general fund and capital fund budgets. I did. Actually, I was lying in bed last night. I said, there's something wrong with that number. Right. So the general fund, I'll just go through the numbers quickly and I'll note the change I'm going to make in what I sent you. Revenues for 2026 general fund are $13,315,329, and the expenditures are $12,445,347, which is higher by $301,000 than the $12,144 I showed in the copy that I had sent you yesterday. And so the reserve number is not 1.17 million, it's $869,982. The reason for that is I neglected to put in the debt service for the 2024 loan, which is now in there, which will be in there, and I'll send you updated copies. As I've explained in the past, with that our revenue reserve number, that will go up by the time we pass this. That will pass, but we were. So there's north of $1 million in there.
Quick question, and on the revenue side first. And I know you like to be conservative, and I do appreciate that, so please take this in that vein.
Yes.
But if we're projected to bring in $5.1 million in earned income tax this year. Reading that correctly, correct?
Correct.
And you're only budgeting $4,500,000. I recognize that can be variable, but that's a larger variable.
I can certainly.
So
raise
just
that.
maybe as we're projecting through this, maybe that, I'm not looking to go all the way up to the 5.1, but
Yeah.
that maybe more than the variance necessary to provide for a safety factor.
Yeah, sure.
The other question I had was, and remind me of this, because I'm sure we had this discussion last year, my age is not letting me remember this. Why did we stop paying FICA?
You don't. It's paid in a lump sum.
Where does it
It's the
show?
way-
Does it show up somewhere in the budget as a lump
Yes,
sum that I
yes,
couldn't find?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's in the if you go down to 487,060 FICA, you'll see the line number.
487?
it's done for all employees.
Got it.
And then what happens is Cecilia goes and breaks it out.
That's okay, I couldn't find that one, I knew we had done something different with it, because, yeah, that's fine. And then. My other board members can speak for themselves, and I don't know if I'll still be here in January, but if I were, I'd be willing to take my, the payroll that we get as a supervisor. And due to the expenditure on trying to get the open space referendum passed, and I think several of the other board members who are sitting here had discussion with them, we would all be willing to defer that and put that towards the budget to pay for the proposal we just signed.
I'm also, yeah. They're all in on that, yeah.
We can't speak for people who won't be here in the future, so I would, you know.
Oh, that's good.
I like that, but that, I think of those who will be around. I don't know, Mr. Kevin, if you weren't gonna be here, you'd probably be supportive of that as well, so, yeah, so. Just to keep that in mind, that actually would need to be paid for that $15,500.
Right.
Natural land truck, so,
Okay.
okay?
Just some other items in the general fund budget, and again, as I do often tell me not to do, is I don't want to bury the lead, there's no tax increase anticipated for next year.
Use it by year.
The fund includes, one police vehicle, a new police officer. I have added an assistant finance director in the budget. I've been in conversation with Cecilia, she doesn't have a date, but it's certainly going to be probably in the 1 to 2 year time frame. I would like to have someone in prior to that. So we're not kind of trying to get someone up to speed, they'll have someone to understand the product and how it works.
My understanding from talking to the municipal managers, that finance position is probably one of the hardest ones
It
to
is, it's gonna take a
find
it's gonna
these
take a
days, yeah.
And as we discussed briefly at the last work session, I have put in the 175,000 capital contribution to the ambulance. And we'll look at possibly making a change to the ambulance fund. That's not here today. This budget shows about a 4% increase year over year with expenditures.
I have a minor question, Kurt, in regards to the Pico streetlights. There's no decrease reflected for our improved LED streetlights.
It's already in there.
Oh, it's already.
It was from before.
Okay.
I think we were around $40,000 to $50,000. I think we're
In the 20s.
yeah.
I just want to make sure that.
Yes. Yeah, that was been in place for a couple of years now, so that's already. The next item is the capital budget. The items of note that I put in here are, I did put in grant funding for the purchase of the Almont property at 7.5 million, and proceeds from borrowing at 14 million. Have the 21 million, of course, you know, that's going to change one way depending on, you know, how our grant process go. If we get more than borrowing, maybe less. But so that's all reflected in 21.5 for the land preservation that's in there. Some other items of note in there include the base repairs at $100,000 for road program. Bike trail repaving budgeted at 30,000. Jacob Reif property maintenance, that's the roof, and some painting. Alderfer Road restroom and concession building planning, that's a 50,000 number. That's for the planning of the facility, actually new ball fields at all park. New pickleball courts at Heckler Plains is budgeted at 72,500. Planning for an engineering design for the public works facilities at 150,000. Various building and maintenance projects for the township, including replacing the roof on this building, which we're budgeting at about 60,000.
Yes.
As well as possibly the parking lot up for this facility. Budgeted at 75 though. So we'll probably phase that if necessary. Grant projects that are shown through capital, budget include, Stover Road Bridge project will start in 2026. So will be completed in 27. The Yoder Road sidewalk project. The Oak Drive right turn lane, this is separate from the sidewalk project that was discussed earlier. Phase 1 of the 113 realignment shared use path. And the Briarwood Stream restoration project. In addition, the traffic signal upgrades to Maple and Maine and Huntsburg and Maine are also part of the capital fund.
Yeah,
Yes,
there is in the revenue for the general fund, there is a transfer from capital fund of $475,000.
right.
And there's only a transfer. There's only an expenditure of $75,000.
Well, as I said, at 301,
That
that would be because we expense the debt out of the general fund, so. The revenue from grants coming to the capital. And then it's transferred to the general, then the general pays the debt.
Okay,
So you see the revenue, on the revenue side, is the 75,000 for the, it's that weird auditor thing about the community center.
right,
It's kind of goes back and forth.
okay,
So that's in there, as well as the, rent revenue. So when we do our reimbursements, we get, reimbursements are paid into the capital fund, and then it's transferred to the general fund, the general fund pays the debt.
so this is accurate to what we're telling me.
It is,
I don't love it,
I don't either,
because it doesn't look accurate.
well, it's what
I know, it's the auditor said, but for the,
there's a trail,
yes.
there's a trail, it's not
The
necessarily.
simpletons like, the simpletons like me, when it's putting nothing up, it looks like there is a $400,000 gap.
Correct, there is not.
Fine.
So, and as I said earlier, I neglected to put in that 301,000 in this, in the copy you have, so you did see that.
Yeah.
Which is why I was laying in bed last night going, there's something wrong with that.
And this is where I always ask, transfer 750 and show 475, where it could always be a net, but it can't because of the audit.
Right, correct.
That's fine. Okay.
Because what we use.
I just want to be clear on that. So, thank you.
That's one further thing about how great Cecilia is. I think my first budget report, I looked at it, same question, sat down for like an hour, and this is where we have to put this in, so.
So other projects, public works projects include, Sturgis Road culvert pipe crossing, I'm not gonna go through all these, Yoder Road pipe replacement, that's the largest one, go along with this, the sidewalk project. Cured in place, pipe projects, how many, are we doing just one of those, is that the one at Yoder and Paul?
There's one on Freed, and one at the community center, so there's a number of them.
We have 100,000 budgeted for that, 110 for the, Yoder Road pipe replacement. We have upgrades to the school flashers at Indian Valley and Oak Ridge Elementary. And then final resurfacing of the hockey rink at Booker and a playground installation also back. Briefly discussed by Doug earlier, equipment, public works equipment included in this include a new F600 dump truck. I'm guessing that's a single axle.
Yes.
Snow blower attachment for the Wildcat boom mower, which is 20,500. John Deere compact tractor with snow blower and salt spreader attachment at 35,000. And a new metal plus 20-foot wide wing plow, which was the plow that we purchased, another plow we purchased last year, which performed so well. So, that's mostly everything that's in the budget.
Any questions?
Thank you. Oh, and just, as we discussed about the traffic impact, the funding, the funds that are in the traffic impact fund, we have transferred them to a higher interest rate.
Okay.
So we're gonna be doing 4.8%. That's pretty good difference.
Yeah. We
get that?
It will still be liquid, it will still be liquid enough that we can make transfers in and out. If we need to, but you don't think a lot of
So this is, was it CD?
that's a high yield. Thing. We can't do too many transactions out of it. I think it's like 1 or 2 a month, but we do so few out of them because of the nature of the traffic impact where we're allowed to use it at this point. Used to be more places, everything going on.
Yes,
It's really going to be useful when the 113 bypass.
How do you do it later? I wanna know who's on.
You know, there you go.
Very good.
And there will be a very, very, very brief executive session for matter.
But no intention.
No intention.
With that, we'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Sorry, one more comment. Sure. Congratulate again on this, first junior supervisors, meeting your president, and look forward to what those junior supervisors.
We don't leave this morning with it. Alright, so with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn. Sorry, move the second, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, nay.